So Pat, you're running for re-election of the UCI, and you yourself have admitted that the sport has lost some credibility. That has happened over a period of time while you've been in charge. So why are you the right man for the job?
Well, when you say the sport has lost credibility, you're talking mostly about the Lance Armstrong affair. And the Lance Armstrong affair happened before my time. So I stand on the work that I have done as president over the past 8 years, and I will stand by that and let my federations in September decide on that. And I have done a huge amount of work, particularly in the fight against doping, over the past 8 years, and I think that deserves to be credited.
Okay, so notwithstanding all of that, let's talk about the criticisms that people have of you and your time as president of the UCI. The German cyclist Jörg Jaksche, he said that he came to you and he said, not only have I been doping, but I know other people who have helped me to dope. And he said that you never followed up on it, and that he said to you, I wish you'd handled this differently, Jörg, which he interpreted as you saying to him, I wish you'd said nothing about it.
First of all, as you said at the beginning, he came and told us he knew of other people who doped. He wouldn't give us any names. He refused to tell us the names of people who had helped him. Secondly, we did follow up with the information we gave him. We went to the Swiss police, Swiss anti-doping agency, who went to the Swiss police. We went to the German anti-doping agency, because there was information he gave us about Germany as well, who went to the German police, and they followed up on that. So it wasn't a question that the UCI didn't follow up. The UCI did follow up.
What about Tyler Hamilton and Floyd Landis? When they came to you and they said that they wanted to whistleblow and tell everything they knew about doping, they say the UCI didn't engage with them. Why?
The UCI followed the rules. And the rules under those circumstances when we get information is that we ask the National Federation of anybody that's involved in that accusation to open up an inquiry. And we informed the United States Federation to open and ask them to open up an inquiry into the allegations within the email which Floyd Landis has said. We likewise informed 3 or 4 other federations, like the Belgian Federation, because there were accusations against Johan Brunel as well, and others in this. So we followed the rules and asked for inquiries to be opened up.
You called them scumbags. Why?
Because of the damage that they've done to the sport, not because of the whistleblowing accusation at all, or the whistleblowing aspect of it, because of the damage they've done to the sport and the amount of money and the amount of time that they'd invested and the amount of money they forced the UCI to invest over a period of years when they were defending their cases. And they never, when it was all over, they never apologised to the sport. They still haven't apologised to the sport. Some of them have apologised to their families and friends and so forth, but not to the sport of cycling for the damage that they've done, or to the fans of cycling for the damage that they've done. That's the reason that I was angry with them.
Does Lance Armstrong fit into that scumbag category as far as you're concerned?
He brought the sport into disrepute, yeah. He has done a lot of disservice to the sport, make no mistake about it.
Do you think...
He has lied and he's fooled everybody. He came back to the sport in 2009. And the president of WADA, John Fahey, when he rode the Tour Down Under, made a statement saying, welcoming him back and saying this is a sporting phenomenon that the likes have never seen, and the impact that he had in Australia for coming back there was enormous. Now that's the president of WADA in 2009 saying that. So it's all very well now, people with hindsight, and hindsight is an exact science, 20/20 vision, looking back to 2001 and saying the UCI did the wrong thing here and the UCI did the wrong thing there. UCI could only work within the rules and could only work within the system that was in place at the time.
Okay, but he tested positive in 1999 for the cortisone and presented this backdated prescription which was accepted by the UCI. So as far back as then, did you not have some inkling that there was something going on?
Yeah, but he presented a backdated prescription. He didn't say to us, this is a backdated prescription. He says, here's the prescription. And it wasn't until, in actual fact, we heard on the Oprah Winfrey show that it was backdated, that we had proof from him that it was a backdated prescription. He did many tests in that Tour de France, and the levels of corticosteroids in the samples were very erratic, which was in line with using a cream, which was allowed by the rules. And at that time also the French ministry were in charge of anti-doping on the Tour de France, and they accepted and allowed that this was a cream that was being used, so it wasn't a positive test.
What about the 6 samples that were retested, the urine samples in 2005? They were from 1999 and they tested positive for EPO. What was going on there?
Well, first of all, though, the rules were broken in relation to testing those samples. There were samples that were tested for research purposes, and in that situation the athlete is supposed to give permission for it. This didn't happen. I'm not defending the athlete or defending anything else.
It
but
sounds like you are.
I'm not.
Do you see, Pat, what people will expect from the UCI is that you're protecting the sport,
No.
that at all costs you do not want to see doping in cycling, and yet you're saying, well, the rules are broken there, we didn't think we should have intervened at that stage, or whatever it might be, but people expect a very strong line from the governing body and from you.
Yeah, but we have to work within the rules. We cannot work outside the rules. We cannot break the rules. As a governing body, above all, when we expect our athletes and our cyclists and our teams and all to work within the rules, we have to do the same thing. The suspicion was there, and make no mistake about it, and the suspicion was there since 1999, since the corticosteroids. But between 2001 and 2005, WADA tested Lance Armstrong, and they had the authority from the UCI to test out of competition 3 times. Between 2001 and 2005, USADA, and bear in mind Armstrong lived probably 6 months of the year in America in their terrain, USADA tested them 12 times. UCI tested them 200 times. The results always came back negative. And that's all we can work on, is positive or negative. We can't work otherwise. And today is different because of the biological passport. We can now go after people for non-analytical reasons. But in those days, we had to have a positive test coming from a laboratory to tell us a rider was positive.
The USADA report says that they have gone back over those tests, the later ones from 2008 on. They say there's a 1 million to 1 chance that he wasn't breaching the rules, and yet he was let through. He was let through your system. So how can you say that your passport, your biological passport, is working if that's the case? Because the biological passport set up by WADA, it's an independent system to the UCI for a start, completely independent. And the way the system works is that if there's suspicious profiles, those profiles are flagged up by the system, by the computer system, the analysis, the Bayesian analysis or whatever it is on the computer system, and then they go to the experts. The experts examine them, and if they think there's a reason, they follow up on 1 or 2 parameters. They'll follow up. If they think that everything's okay, they won't follow up. Armstrong's profile did go to the experts during the time he came back, and the experts said the profile is normal. But it wasn't normal according to USADA? No, there's no proof that it wasn't normal, no. 1 million to 1 chance, they say. People can make accusations, make statements all they wish, but if USADA had proof that Armstrong was doping at that time, they could have opened up a case against him. So your critics will also cite that your relationship with USADA and WADA as being, reason why perhaps you shouldn't be leading the World Cycling Body, that if there's an issue there, that's a big problem. No, it's not a big problem at all, no. The relationship which we have with WADA, for instance, on a day-to-day level, on a working level, is excellent. I'll give you a perfect example. This year alone, on the Giro d'Italia, we caught 3 riders positive. One of those riders was caught because the Italian police gave information to WADA. WADA then gave that information to the UCI, and the UCI tested the rider, and we caught him positive and threw him out. Now, we spend 7 million Swiss francs, or 6 million euro roughly per annum, to catch dopers. You wouldn't do that if you weren't serious about catching guys. And there's no other international federation spends anything near that in the fight against doping. 7 months on from the USADA report and the Lance Armstrong Oprah confession, there are those who say that you've done nothing about that report. No concrete steps have been taken. You set up an independent commission and then you disbanded it. Why? Yeah. Quite simply, because both USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency, and WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, refused to collaborate with the commission. USADA and WADA refute what you're saying. They say they were willing to cooperate with the independent commission. No, they weren't. The independent commission set up its own. They said, we are independent, we will set up our terms of reference, and we will work on those. We were fine with that. USADA and WADA refused to accept that. And so we were in a position where we were going to spend a lot of money on an independent report, which was going to be a one-sided report and was going to be criticised immediately afterwards. How confident are you that you will be the president of the UCI post-September? I'm quite confident. I'm very confident I will be president of UCI post-September. I left Ireland to work for federations around the world. I work for 175 federations around the world, and I believe it is their democratic right to decide whether I should stay on as president of the UCI or not.
That was Claire talking to Pat McQuaid yesterday in Norway. Well, next